What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Big Chunky. Today we're going to be talking about some sad news, unfortunately. If you're one of the people that shops regularly on the PlayStation Store, not on your PS5 or your PS4, but on your PS3 or your PSP or your PS Vita, you're not going to be able to use the PlayStation Store for much longer. Let's talk about it. So the PlayStation Store is something that I shop on all the time on my PlayStation 4 Pro, and never really had any problems with it. But one of the things that I never ever used really on the Vita that I play, and my PS3, which is it's not here right now, it's in the shop, but I never really used the PlayStation Store because I've always been more of a physical media kind of person. I like to have games on my shelf, so I don't use digital stores as much as what it seems to be like the rest of the gaming world is kind of shifting to. Unfortunately, which it is what it is. I'm always going to be a physical person, but the only system I really use the digital store on exclusively is PC because Steam, and nobody ships games on discs anymore. And of course, my PC doesn't have a Blu-ray drive because why would it have a Blu-ray drive? Anyway, um, the point is, a lot of these systems, namely the PSP, less so the PSP actually, more so the PS Vita, um, games aren't being produced on cartridges anymore for this system, which is I didn't know that actually. I learned that, and that means that developers that currently develop for the PlayStation Vita, which is still Sony's, like even though it's discontinued and they don't make cartridges for it anymore, it's still Sony's current um, handheld device. Now, as much as they don't give a shit about it, a lot of people do. And there are indie developers that are out there making Vita versions of their games because a lot of them are pixel games or lower end 3D games that can actually be played on the PS Vita. As powerful as it once was as a handheld, outshined by the Switch tenfold, of course. People are still developing for the Vita, so the Vita store is closing this summer, which is super unfortunate. So it looks like right here, the PS3 and PS Vita stores will be closing on August 27th. So you only have a couple months to go in and make all your purchases. And the same with the PSP. I cannot imagine how many people are actually using the PSP store in 2021, especially because of how super easy it is to hack one of these things and put just ISO files on your PSP and play them. It's also a really really good emulation device too. Now, I don't recommend anyone go out and do this really, but the facts are the facts. So I can't imagine that too many people are going to be sad about the PSP store closing. But the Vita is current, and I'm not super surprised that Sony's actually going and shutting off the servers for the PS3. Nintendo just a year or two ago did the same thing with the Wii. It's the same generation. It's about time to move on from those consoles. Unfortunately, as bad as it sucks, and as bad as it sucks that games are going to be only available for however long they're available on the PlayStation Store, it kind of limits how many customers can actually go in and shop for some of these developers' games, which means that a lot of these games are going to be pretty rare on systems and ultimately kind of lost to time on that system. Of course, they're going to have different versions for consoles that are a little bit more current than the 10-year-old Vita or the, I don't even know, 15, 16-year-old, not quite that old, but 13 or 14-year-old PSP, and of course the 15-year-old PS3. It's about time to shut these down, guys. It sucks, but that's how the times go. The bad part about this is apparently Sony didn't give developers any notification that they were going to be closing the stores, and they even like were sending out dev kits to studios that wanted to develop for the PSP, or I'm sorry, the PS Vita, and they're closing down the stores. I don't really understand their logic. I guess they just wanted to get the dev kit money from these from the studios and not tell anybody about it. But obviously, it sucks for a company as major as Sony to just go behind developers' backs and not even tell them that the studio is going to be, or the system is going to be essentially offline here in a couple months. So expect that some of the games that you might have been keeping up with we're going to have Vita versions. They won't anymore. Now, I can't imagine that you're the only person on the planet that only has a Vita to play on. I'm sure you can probably go get a newer system for relatively cheap nowadays. So I don't really know how much this affects too many people, except for people that bought their libraries basically exclusively on the PlayStation Store. Now, people aren't going to be getting any new games, but I can only assume that this means that you can also go back and download games that you've already bought, or that you've already bought on any of these systems, especially the games that are cross-purchase or cross-play, whatever they call it, where, say, you buy a game on the PS3 and you can also play it on PS4 or Vita, and you can also play it on PS3, games like that. So I don't really know how it's gonna affect the game world as much. It is really weird that that Sony didn't give nearly as much notice of the closing as Nintendo did with the Wii Store, because people had Wii points saved up from 2007 or whenever the Wii Shop was launched. And they gave them time to actually go and buy and spend their points. Now, at some point, everything was cut off and you couldn't buy any more points anymore, but you could spend the points that you got. So hopefully they're going to be doing the same thing, where you can add money to your PlayStation account before they turn off that functionality, and then you can still buy games until the actual servers get shut off. Yeah, it looks like it says that right here in this paragraph here. So anyway, that's unfortunate. I'm kind of glad that I never went and threw any money onto a PlayStation account on on either of my handhelds here. I use the PSP mostly for emulation to take on the go. And the Vita, I don't have any games for anymore. But my PS3, I actually it's kind of unfortunate because I'm sure that there were some pretty cool PlayStation Store exclusive PS3 games that might be lost to history now. But as hacking goes on and Sony kind of forgets about these systems and forgives people for hacking them and putting games on their systems, maybe we'll see some of those resurface, but you never know. But of course, I always want to know your all's opinion. What do you think about what do you think about Sony closing down the PlayStation Store for 3 of their systems, for 3 of their ecosystems, really? It's an odd time, but it kind of it's the way to go at some point. I'm waiting for Microsoft to do the same thing. But Microsoft seems to be more in tune with keeping and preserving the games, if that makes any sense. For example, they've had backwards compatibility functions for every single one of their systems after the original Xbox. 360 could play select Xbox 360 or Xbox original games. Xbox One could play select games from those 2 previous systems, and the Series X and S, the series, of course, can play games from all of those. Like, you can just throw in a disc and play these games. So it's interesting to see what Microsoft will do. I can't imagine that we'll see the Microsoft Store or whatever close on the 360. Maybe it will close on the 360 soon, but their ecosystem is all encompassing. Like, you can play Halo with someone on your Series X that is also playing Halo on their 360. So maybe that has something to do with it. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I always am curious about companies doing big moves like this, but I can't imagine that Sony's actually making a ton of money or anything from the purchases on these three systems stores specifically. But let me know what you think. Are you exclusively digital on the Vita or the PSP? A lot of people, I'm assuming, probably are digital only on the PSP because of piracy. But yeah, just let me know what you guys think. The PS3 is the one that hurts the most, but I'm always interested in your opinions. So I'll see you guys on the next video. Leave the video a like on the way out and subscribe for more content like this all the time. We'll see you in the next one.